Well, hello there. Welcome to this episode of the Terri Cole Show that I'm going to start with a question. Does finding a therapist or the right therapist for you feel overwhelming? Especially if you're already potentially going through some shit, which is why you're looking for a therapist. Because I've heard from many of you and you were like, is there any way you can help me find a therapist? Make it easier. Are you worried that you might end up with the wrong therapist or a therapist that you won't click with and you won't know how to deal with that? Or have you had bad experiences in the past? Because this is another thing that you've written in and told me that is true. You have had bad experiences in the past and you're looking to avoid that again. So like you want to give therapy a go, but you just don't know how to go about finding the right and perfect fit for you. Okay, so in today's video, I'm sharing a step-by-step method to find the right therapist so that you can get the help that you need and deserve. Then a lot of this information, of course, is going to be in a very extensive guide that goes along with this episode, terricole.com/guide. So if you happen to be new here, my name is Terri Cole. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a relationship expert, the author of Boundary Boss and the Boundary Boss Workbook, and the new book that's coming out October 15th called Too Much, about high-functioning codependency. I think you guys are going to love it. So before we get started, if you are new to my YouTube channel, well, hello. Welcome. Please make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you get notified every time I roll out new stuff, seeing as how I make it for you on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. And please subscribe because this is free stuff for you guys, but it's helpful to me if you actually subscribe. Thank you so much for all your questions and your comments. You know, I love this crew. I read all of them. Other people watch Netflix. I just dive into my comment section on my YouTube channel. So I love to show them. This is from Jan854, and this is under the video, 5 Traits of Healthy, Epic Romantic Relationships, Not What You Think. And Jan says, Terri, thanks for being my virtual mama. Aw. I look forward to your content, which makes me feel hopeful that soon I can love myself without having to compromise who I am. Right on, Jan. Thank you for taking the time to say that because I really do appreciate it. It warms my heart and makes me know that I'm not, basically doing this in a vacuum by myself. I love hearing from you guys. So thank you, Jen. All right. Why don't we move it on into today's episode, shall we? All right. Finding a therapist can be overwhelming. That's not news. Many of you have told me this is your feeling about it. But what we're looking to do, what is our goal? You want to find someone who has the appropriate amount of training, who you truly connect with, right? So that you can open up and create better mental wellness. This is basically what we're doing. Whether that means going into the past to figure out what happened, if that means processing traumatic experiences, whatever it is for you, you want to do it with someone that you feel comfortable with. The first step that you're going to do on this process is you need clarity about what isn't working for you. Again, all of this stuff is in the guide because it is a lot of information. What is causing my pain, right? What is stressing me out? So what is causing my pain? You could say the breakup that I had 8 months ago. What you want a therapist for is to help you process the loss around that breakup so that you can move on with your life, right? So what is causing my pain is a valuable inquiry. What is causing my suffering or frustration? How am I feeling on a day-to-day basis, right? So you're going to journal all this stuff. There are so many things you could be experiencing, from addiction to anxiety to depression, communication issues, could be past trauma, as I sort of said at the top, or relationship problems that are just ongoing, which really does negatively impact the quality of your life. So next, we move into your own preferences. Do you want to work with someone of a specific gender identification or a religious affiliation? Do you want it to be in person? Do you want it to be virtual, right? And how much cash do you have to do it? Because therapy sessions can range from a small copay to something that's really costly and everything in between. So there's not one size fits all. So I'm going to invite you to grab your journal and do a brain dump on all of these things, like all the stuff that's not working, how you feel and what you're looking for. Getting clear on what you need help with is super helpful before you start searching, right? Because then we're going to be looking for people who have an expertise in the area that you need help. So if you're finally telling yourself the truth about some kind of addictive behavior, you obviously want a clinician who has experience with addiction, because that would make sense. Or you want someone, if it's a relationship problem, you want someone who's a relationship expert. If it's family of origin stuff, you want people who, and listen, most decent therapists are well versed in family of origin and relationship stuff. But addiction stuff is really specific, and you might be looking for someone with a subspecialty. So educate yourself on the different types of practitioners and modalities to pick one that is best for you. There's a whole bunch, and I'll give you a link. I found one that I like that describes what people do in medical news today. So I will put a link to that. It's basically a grid that's showing you, what does a psychologist do, a counselor, a psychiatrist, a therapist, a social worker, like basically how they can help you. I think that can be helpful for you to look at to see, because if you're depressed, do you need antidepressants? And do you need to see a psychiatrist for that? Because you could see a therapist and also just see a psychiatrist to follow your medication, which a lot of people do. It's very common. So you're going to educate yourself on that. And I also have a whole glossary in the guide itself. So step 2, how to find a therapist. All right, get intimate with your mental health benefits if you have insurance. That's the first thing, because we've got to figure out what you can afford to do and what they will cover. So benefits, the amounts and the limits of what they'll do, it goes by state to state, and it is completely dictated by the insurance plan you have if you have insurance. So the best way to find out what your insurance covers is to review your summary of benefits and coverage, SBC, and that is a document that all insurance companies are required to provide to you. So it'll explain. You can also call customer service on your plan if you don't want to look for the SBC, right, which is a summary of benefits and coverage, and you can ask them to break down exactly what is covered. If you don't have insurance, or your insurance doesn't cover mental health, and you prefer not to use insurance, those of you of means, I'm giving you now different ways to find therapists, because the fit is everything, right? When you think about therapy, how you fit together is incredibly important, how you feel around that person. So ask around to get recommendations. That's the first thing that you can do. You can ask other medical professionals that you respect and trust. Ask trustworthy friends and family if you know that they're with a therapist that they like. As long as your relationship isn't too close with them, it should be fine. You can ask friends and family to ask their therapist for recommendations, because again, the same way with, I feel like all the good medical doctors kind of hang out together. I feel the same way with therapists, that the good ones know each other and are happy to make referrals to other therapists. If you work at a company or a corporation, you want to check their benefits, because they may have EAP, which is Employees Assistance Program, which is a confidential counseling service that happens for the employees. And a lot of people don't even know that that is available to them in a corporate situation. And again, not all corporations, but because these benefits are paid for by your employer, access to you is free. So I guess it depends on who you work for. It may also extend to immediate family. So it may not just be you. It might be you, your partner, and your kids could also go. So that's certainly something that is worth looking into. I also want to encourage you to research your local resources, right? That's schools and universities, counseling centers. I mean, the first therapist I ever had was someone who was in grad school, and she was wonderful. And I stayed with her for like 9 years. So when we go to schools and universities, a lot of times they'll have counseling centers, but you have people who are in school studying. And yet I had a wonderful experience. And I know that many, many other people have as well, especially if money is an issue. You can also use reputable online website directories to find providers and resources in your area. So something like Psychology Today could be really helpful, because it shows you who's in your area, what their specialties are, how long they've been in practice. So many of the questions that you're going to ask the therapist if you do a consultation with them, you can get them answered in Psychology Today. Anxiety and Depression Association of America is another place. The National Alliance of Mental Health is another place. Catholic Charities Behavioral Health Care. And I have links to all this stuff in the guide, so don't you worry about it. terricole.com/guide. But those are certainly places that you can find referrals. Now, online therapy may open more doors, right, in terms of having more therapists to choose from, and it really can be as effective, but I think it depends on what your presenting problem is as to whether it's appropriate. If you're talking about complex trauma, then doing it online is not appropriate, right? There are certain things where we really need to be in person. If you're in the throes of addiction and what you really need is a detox, an online situation is not going to work for you, right? So it can be more convenient, and I've seen it work for zillions of people. And Psychology Today also they'll tell you if the provider does virtual appointments. And also BetterHelp is something that I actually vetted their service with about 15 people a couple of years ago. And I had a really good experience. So I can't say what everyone's experience is, but the 15 people who reported back to me felt like they really found a good therapist who was flexible. They loved doing it online. It was affordable. So we'll put a link in the guide for that as well if you want to look into it. And then step 3 is now you're going to narrow down the list. If you get a whole list of a bunch of people, now you're going to check out the people. They're like, oh, I know this therapist, Jane Smith. Okay, does Jane Smith have a website? Let's go look at the website. Let's see what other people are saying about her. You also want to make sure that their professional license and certifications are up to date, right? So you can look, like I'm licensed by the state of New York, and you could literally go into the government website and see that my license has been up to date for 27 years or whatever it is. But you really want to know. Another thing we got to think about is in the pandemic, the rules of doing state to state, they were a little bit more lax on them when it came to insurance because everyone was doing online stuff. So they made allowances for that in a way that you really want to check and see, especially if your insurance is paying for it. Does that person need to be in your state? Once you're narrowing down your list, you're checking their specialties and their skill set to make sure it's actually what you're looking for. In the guide, I give you how to check their license. Each state is different as to what's required. So, for example, to be listed on the Psychology Today website, providers must have a legitimate advanced degree in their discipline and an up-to-date professional license and certification. So you can't just buy ad space on a place like Psychology Today. They actually check and vet the people who advertise there. Another thing that's really important that you may not think of is you want to check for bad reviews, complaints, and lawsuits. I know that sounds scary, but you can check with the state licensing board to see if a therapist has a record or is under any kind of investigation. And that may sound paranoid, but my feeling is you might as well do your due diligence, right? It's free to check. So why not check? Check the Better Business Bureau, which I always do before doing business with anybody. I don't care who it is. Before I even buy an online course, I check to see if that person's name is in the Better Business Bureau with complaints against them, because it tells me something that I need to know. And at the Better Business Bureau, there's reviews and complaints. So either one. And you can just search Google and see what comes up, right? Put in their name and see what comes up. And then the 4th step is you're going to make some calls, right? To make an appointment. A lot of people will do sort of a consultation is what we call it. I used to always do it. So it's 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. Some people will do a full session and not charge you for it. Or maybe they have a different fee, like a lesser fee to do the consultation. But my feeling is it is valuable to take it the one step further, because talking to someone and just when you call them up, ask them, do you do a free or paid consultation? That's your question. If they say, yes, I do, I can talk to you for 20 minutes. Great. You get to ask them the questions. And this is really where I feel like your mindset has to be aligned. A lot of times when people are dealing with therapists, they're worried. They're like, I don't know. They're the professional. I don't want you to think about it that way. Yes, they are the professional, but you are the client. So I want you to think about it from the point of view of you're interviewing them to see if you think they will be a good fit, so you don't waste your time, your youth, your beauty, and your money, right? We want that. So it isn't like, did they like me? Because a lot of times, especially if you're a people pleaser, you can sort of go into people pleasing mode when you're talking to someone who feels like an authority figure, basically. You're not going to do that, right? We're gonna take it from the point of view of a very empowered point of view, and a point of view the same way you would hire someone to mow your lawn. You would look into them. You would see if they had reviews. And if 5 people said they were terrible and never showed up and took their money and left, you wouldn't hire them, right? So you want to have a conversation. You can ask questions and I give you all these questions in the guide, terricole.com/guide. Don't worry about it. But how do you handle payment and insurance? Some people will bill your insurance and you only have to do a copay and they get paid by the insurance. Some people are expecting you to pay everything up front and then you get reimbursed by the insurance. They give you a paid bill that you then submit. You can also ask, is there a sliding scale based on income? You can ask, how long have you worked in this field? Have you treated other patients with similar issues or challenges to mine? So now we're seeing if they're a good fit. You can ask, where did you train if you want to, right? This is especially important, though, if you're talking about trauma stuff, sexual abuse, or for other modalities like EMDR, which is rapid eye movement desensitization. It's something that we do for trauma. You do want to know. You don't want that person taught themselves, right? You want to know that they're actually accredited in EMDR. You want to ask them, what is the intake process? So the intake process for me, I'll tell you what mine was when I had a full therapy practice, is I had a very extensive intake form, all about the person's history, health, diet, sleep habits. Do they work out? Do they not? Like everything from their day-to-day life to family stuff. What is family history of depression, cancer, anything? Because all of that was super helpful for me to already start the process of like creating a roadmap of this person's life, which makes the work that we're doing so much faster to get to. So I thought it was valuable to the client for me to ask a lot of questions, go over all of those questions, not when I'm with the client, but before. So I'm starting with knowing that they have 3 siblings and that they're the youngest and that whatever, you know what I mean? So all of those types of questions. You can certainly ask, what is the process? You can ask them, how soon do you think I'll start feeling better? That's something. How long do you estimate treatment will take? Have you ever been in therapy? You can ask them too. And really remembering that you are interviewing them, right? You are interviewing them. And during the consultation, if you get a vibe from the person you're speaking with, right? Does this person appear kind? Do they appear understanding? Do they appear like they care, right? Use your feelings as a guide. And another thing that I have included for you in the guide are other ways for you to support your mental health, from limiting caffeine to not skipping meals to, don't let yourself get dehydrated. There's a whole bunch of things that I always give my clients to really keep your mental health in check. So all of that is in the guide. I really hope that this helped you, and that if you've been thinking about getting into therapy, that this episode of the Terri Cole Show is the thing that's going to push you over the edge to actually do it, because I really think everyone deserves that space to only focus on themselves in life. I would love to hear from you how this did or did not help you. You know where I hang out most, on Instagram. I hope you guys have the most amazing week. And as always, take care of you.